process layout where we are trying to understand the systematic layout planning. Numerical flow of items between work centers. Can be impractical to obtain, does not account for qualitative factors that may be crucial to the placement decision. If any movement does not account for the qualitative factors, sometimes we have to move the product because the quality of the product may increase if it is kept in open for few days, then we will be requiring more space than movement is open. Systematic layout planning accounts for the importance of having each department located next to every other department. So again here you can see the focus is on the reducing the movement of or the distance in the movement of the material. It is also guided by trial and error, switching work center, then checking the result of the closeness score. Now friends, here is an example of systematic layout planning. Reasons for closeness. What are the reasons? Code 1, type of customer. 2, ease of supervision. 3 is common personnel. 3rd is contact necessary. Share same price, and psychology. Here I should tell you that if there is a systematic layout planning, then you can decide what type of customer should go in which area. You can supervise very well because everything is well connected. A common personnel can help you in performing the task if they are sitting idle. They can contact very easily if it is necessary. Now value, absolutely necessary. Line code, numerical weight. Importance of closeness. A is absolutely necessary. Line code is 4 lines, parallel lines. Numerical weight is given 16. Especially important, then we will take, if it is not absolutely necessary, then it is line code is 3, numerical weight is 8. I is important, then for 4. O is ordinary closeness, then the weightage is 2. U is uni, unimportant, then numerical weight is 0. And for undesirable, numerical weight is 80. Now, example of systematic layout planning relating reasons and importance. Here you can see credit department is kept in I. credit department for 3 is U, then A and U. Area square feet is 100. Toy department, again the area required is 400. The rating is given based on the importance of a particular action. So the camera department here you can see is given 100 square feet. So the total square feet is divided based on the importance or utility. Accordingly, the area is also decided. Here green is basically closeness rating, and reason for rating is number given in the numbers. So this is the way. Here you can see, by making a proper chart, it is decided then what type of weightage, how much weightage and how much area accordingly should be given to layout planning. Note here that 1 credit department and 2 is toy department, right? So for the toy department are given a high rating of 6, right? Toy department and the 5 is candy department are given a high rating of 1.6. Example of systematic layout planning, initial relationship diagram. Here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are the various departments. And by these connections, as we have seen in earlier, the 4 connections are absolutely close or important. So 2 and 5 has A, which is absolute importance. Then comes E, which is important. The connection between 4 and 5 is unimportant, and 3 and 5 is also unimportant. So this is the way to make it easy. If the layout is given, if it is planned or designed properly, then anyone can understand that which department should be kept together. So number of lines here represents path required to be taken in the transactions between the departments. The more lines, more the interaction between department. So 2 and 5 interaction is highest here. Then 1 and 4 interaction is little bit less than 2 and 5, but again more than any other. 1 and 2 is, and 2 and 4 is equally important in interactions. And 4, 5 and 5, 3 are unimportant. Note here again, department 1 and 2 are linked together, and department 2 and 5 are linked together by multiple lines or required transactions. Now we can again understand this. If you are ignoring space and building constraints, then you can see here initial layout and final layout can be done, because 2 has connections with all the department in the second layout. adjusted by square footage and building size. In the final layout, the department 1 and 5 are not both placed directly next to department 2. Now we comes to assembly line balancing. So student, today we would like to learn how the assembly line balancing is done. Through this video we can understand. Let us assume there are 3 stations here. Question is, suppose you load work into the 3 workstation below such that each will take the corresponding number of minutes as shown. What is the cycle time of this line? Here we should try to understand what is the cycle time of this. So we have practiced this many times in the class also to determine the cycle time. So before we calculate, let us know what is the cycle time. Cycle time is the time between the 2 consecutive finished products. So by looking at this, can you guess what is the cycle time? So first station takes 6 minutes per unit. Second station takes 7 minutes per unit. Third station takes 3 minutes per unit. Right? So now you are supposed to calculate the cycle time. So I know that most of you can calculate that the cycle time is 7 minutes. So after every 7 minutes you will get a new finished product. It is also the maximum time of the total workstations. So maximum time is taken by workstation 2. So the cycle time will always be 7 for this assembly line. The cycle time of the line is always determined by the workstation taking the longest time. In this problem, the cycle time of the line is 7 minutes. There is also going to be idle time at the other 2 workstations. So you can understand that what is the idle time for station 1. 1 minute is the idle time, and for station 4 minutes is the total idle time per product. Now let's see the example of line balancing. Here the process is given. There are 8 tasks done to finish a product. Time for each task is also given: 2 for A, 1 for B, 3.25 for C, 1.2 for D, 0.5 for E, 1 for F, 1 for G, and 1.4 for H. It is the time taken by every task. It is in minutes, and predecessors are also given. There is no predecessor for A, for B it is A, and so on. So friends, you can see from here how the product is being manufactured. You just been assigned the job. These are the assignments lined with the following task. Now, based on this, first we have to make a process flow chart. Based on the information given in the previous slide, we have made this process. All the tasks are working like this. A is none, no predecessor. For B, A is the predecessor. For C, none predecessor. For D, here you can see for D, A and C are predecessors. So you cannot start D until and unless A and C are finished. Task predecessors are E and D for A. So FE for G it is B, and for the H it is E and G. So now you can see here the previous slide is now drawn with this process flow chart. Which process steps define the maximum rate of production? So now look at these rate of production. A takes 2 minutes, B takes 1 minute, G takes 1 minute, H takes 1.4 minutes, C takes 3.25 minutes, D takes 1.2 minutes, E take 0.5 minute, F take 1 minute. Now you are supposed to tell which process step defines the maximum rate of production. That means, can you tell us what is the cycle time? Task C is the cycle time of the line and therefore the maximum rate of production. Now see here, task C will always finish the product after every 3.25 minutes. So it is the highest time taken task. So as I have already told you in the previous slide, that the highest time of the process is called the cycle time. Suppose we want to assemble 100 fans per day, what would our cycle time have to be? So for this we must know what is the total work hours, because we want to assemble 100 fans. So you have to assume whether it is 8 hours the working time or 24 hours the working time. Then will be very easy to determine the cycle time. So required cycle time is production time per period divided by required output per period. So how much production time do we have? So 420 minutes per day is the total time, and we have to produce 100 units. So here we are considering that the factory is running for 8 hours, 1 hour is a gap or the lunch time. So total 7 hours. So in 7 hours the total minutes are 420 minutes, and total fans which we have to assemble are 100. So divided by 100 you will get 4.2 minutes per unit. Now once you know the cycle time, now you can decide that how much facility, what type of facility is required to make 100 fans within the given time. What is the theoretical minimum number of workstation for the problem? It also has the formula that how should be determine the minimum number of workstation. The sum of task time divided by the cycle time. So cycle time we have calculated in the previous slide, that is 4.2. The sum of task time, here we have to sum all the task time, that 11.35 minutes per unit. Friends, you must be thinking that how this 11.35 minutes time has come. So for this, let's go back and I'll tell you What is this the total time? Now add all these times. If you will add all these times given on these circles, you'll get that the total time or the sum of all tasks is 11.35 minutes per unit divided by 4.2 minutes per unit, and that will give you 2.702. So this 2.702 is the total time, total number of workstations you must have. Assign tasks to station 1 and then example of line balancing rules to follow for loading workstations. Assign tasks to station 1, then 2, etc. in sequence. Keep assigning to a workstation, ensuring the precedence is maintained and total work is less than or equal to the cycle time. Use the following rules to select task for assignment. Primary, assign task in order of the largest number of following tasks. Secondary, tie breaking, assign task in order of the longest operating time. So now let's take the same example again. A is 4.2 minus 2 is equals to 2.2. See, these are the rules. Assign task to station 1 and then 2. In sequence, keep assigning to a workstation, ensuring that the precedence is maintained, right? So, for 2, A task is assigned to workstation 1. And then the B, then G. So the total idle time here is 0.2. And C should be assigned to workstation 2. Total idle time is 0.95. And D should be assigned to station 3. E should be assigned to station 3. F should be assigned to station 3, and the total idle time is 0.1. Now the question is, which station is the bottleneck? Which station is the bottleneck? What is the effective cycle time? So now you can very well see here. The idle time for station 3 is 0.1, so it becomes station 3 becomes the bottleneck, and effective cycle time will be 0.95 minutes. Efficiency is calculated by sum of task time divided by actual number of workstation into cycle time. So efficiency is 11.35 minutes divided by 3 into 4.2 minutes equals to 0.901. That is the efficiency of the workstation. So friends, today we will stop here.